So this is actually super cool. This is my baby sister, y'all. One time for Joy. So Joy and I have had, I would say, a pretty awesome and divergent pathway, right? Joy actually basically represents everything that I believe anyone should aspire to in life. She's an amazing talent, right? All the singing talent actually went to her. I'm just trying to do my best. She's raised some amazing children, my niece and nephews. And so, Joy, I think what would be great to actually talk about is let's talk about them and why, for you, it was so important. Because I know I maybe just talked about stuff a little bit, but finally we was like, okay, let's get real serious about this investing thing. And let's talk about it in the context of Kai, Ivy, and Cody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the pandemic really shifted my priorities. The lockdown really made me refocus on what was really important to me. I got to spend so much more time with my children. I was working full time. And having that opportunity to be at home with them, I realized that this is where my heart really was. It's with them. Spending my energy and my time pouring into my children made so much more sense to me than doing that for a large university and helping that university reach their goals. But what about my goals and the goals of, what I want to see my family reach? So that was the big push for me to get started. And I think I talked to you about that, and you're like, well, I know some things you might be able to do with your money, Joy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think really what was super cool about being able to do this for Joy and Dan was a lot of times people feel like, oh, I need this big number to be able to step away and focus on what I want to do and love to do the most. And I remember us sitting down over a Zoom, because everything we do is on Zoom, right? And I said, Joy, well, why don't we actually just kind of take a look at what you have. Let's take a look at what Dan has. And let's take a look at the math of what's actually possible with that money. And I said, hey, look, if you guys have the stomach for it, right? Because it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to have some ups and downs, some hills and valleys. This is what you could earn. And I remember your initial reaction was like, Ryan, that doesn't sound realistic. So what was that journey like for you to actually, number one, get comfortable putting your capital at risk to be able to get those returns? And where do you and Dan kind of feel now?
Okay, so when we started this process, I had little to no knowledge about investing, about the financial industry. I had spent my entire career, my whole employment life in higher education, working at universities. And so it's a completely different mindset. You're always worried about making sure all your debt's paid off. You're always worried about making sure you don't owe anybody anything, or like you've paid every bill off. You don't want any credit card debts. You're worried about your score. There's a whole bunch of risk aversion, I think, that just surrounded our lives. And now we're realizing that debt happens, but it shouldn't be something that controls your ability to move forward and make money and be successful and get what you want in life. I think I could not go back to working a 9-to-5. I could not do it. So I'm very grateful for this entire experience that's really been able to give me that gift to be able to be with my kids, which is it's what I wanted. So
Right. And actually, let's double tap on that. The concept of debt, right? And I think we just talked about it a little bit when we talked about that concept of using the same dollar twice at the same time. Very recently, you moved some money over and you explored and worked with this concept that you could actually take a loan from yourself and owe yourself interest. Can you talk a little bit about that and, maybe if you could talk some numbers, how much you actually borrowed and
Oh, sure.
what did you actually do with that money?
Okay, so I had about 100K in an IRA that if I started to take any money of that or move it, it was going to be taxed. So what I did is I went to another company. Should I say the company?
Yeah,
I went to the company called Carry,
Good.
and Carry has a solo 401k that you can take a loan out on your own money. So I moved about $100,000 over into Carry, and then I took out a $50,000 loan of my own money, and I moved it back into a Fidelity account where now I'm able to move that money freely for options and 2 to 5 sell-side trading. And that has been really awesome. I'm earning interest, but I'm paying myself the interest. I'm paying my own money back to myself. So really, if anything, it's just helping me manage my own money, and they're not doing anything but just holding it for me and giving me interest. So it's been actually pretty great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think one of the probably staggering takeaways, right, is that the 50K that you have working for you has been throwing off somewhere between $1,700 and $2,000 a month, right? Which is pretty amazing when you think about it, right? And I strongly urge folks to think about these numbers, because when we think about compounding, compounding happens over time. And as compounding happens over time, you add zeros to your principal capital, and you add zeros to your profit, right? So if 50 can throw off 1,700 to 2,000, then 500 could throw off 17,000 to 20,000, right? So that gives you even more of an incentive to make sure that you are a good steward of the capital that you have. You have a system around the decisions that you make. And so I want to ask one last little question, and that is, having a system and having sort of a timeline around your income strategy, how has that helped with the anxiety of the ups and downs of the markets?
Oh, man. When I first came to WealthPlan, I learned the way of day trading. And while I understood the concept and I was taught really well, it was the most anxiety-inducing experience of my day every time I was there. And it's just not who I am. I don't want to be in an extremely anxiety-inducing situation, even if it's just for 30 minutes a day. Why am I doing this to myself? And so hearing about the 2 to 5 sell side, where you put your money down and you're putting it on a trade that will sit for a month, I can't even put it into words how much better this is for me and the life that I have. I have 3 children. They are very busy doing a lot of things, and I need that time to pick them up from school, to take them to their activities and such. So having the ability to sort of set it and forget it if I really need to has been completely invaluable. Like I can't put I will never do day trading. That is how I feel.
Great, yes. Great. Well,
if
yeah.
it works for you, it's amazing. You can do great things with day trading. It's just not for me.
Right.
And that's okay. And that's another great thing about WealthPlan.
Right.
There's something here for everyone.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And on that note, I thank you, my baby sis.
Thank you.
And we wish you a lot more success. For sure.
Give it a one more time for Joy.